Today, we're talking about something that quietly shapes how we feel every single day, our homes. Because when you're a mother, home isn't just where you rest, it's where often many of us work, think, plan, reset, and raise our gorgeous children and our families. But what if our homes are designed to support us, or do they quietly drain us? My guest today is Bex from Home Shape Style, who specialises in helping families create homes that don't just look beautiful, but actually work for real life. I know. This conversation, we're exploring how motherhood can shift the way we think about our environment, why the space we live in influences our mood and mindset more than we even realise, and how small intentional changes at home can create a huge shift in how we feel day to day. Bex, I am so excited for this conversation. So excited. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
This is just, as soon as I met you, I was like, I need to have you on the podcast, Bex. Like, I think we've got a lot to talk about.
There's a lot.
There is a lot to talk about. So the first question I would love to ask you is just to find out a little bit about yourself. What happened? Like, how did you end up in interior design?
Well, I came into it after I'd had my third child, and I was on maternity leave, and I knew I wasn't going to go back after him because I had 3 children. I worked in advertising. It was totally in London, totally full on. I had absolutely no, it sort of came to me, and I can't remember, there was no epiphany. I don't remember the exact moment when I thought this is what I want to do. But I did know that I didn't want to work in advertising anymore. So I retrained maybe 7 or 8 years ago. And went back to school to learn interior design because I just realised people always ask me, I was always the one that people would ask me, oh, where did you get that from? Oh, your home's so cosy. And I always decorated. I'd lived in 22 or 23 homes by the time I was like mid-30s.
That's a lot.
Yeah. And so I really know how to make a space feel comforting and cozy because I've had to make a lot of spaces feel like home, some less successfully than others. But I've always decorated rental properties at university. I painted all my rooms, got the landlord's permission. I've always been really interested in home as a way of supporting you and of how important it is to your nervous system and comfort and safety and a sense of belonging. That's like really part of it.
Oh, this is going to get very deep, I feel.
That's the thing, I think. It does get a bit deep because I suppose my backstory has led me to this door. And some of it I've had to sort of learn the hard way to get to understand how important it is for people. And that's why I'm really passionate about it.
And you're so passionate because I remember meeting you for the first time and it does just ooze out of you.
Oh, that's good to hear.
And what I really felt from you as well is that it's this passion to make this space that we're raising our families in. And we know, don't we? We're both mums on that white knuckle ride of motherhood. Our homes just often get a bit left behind. So tell me a little bit about, what were you doing to make the home nice and cozy when you had your little ones in those early days?
I suppose one of the things that I've always intuitively done, so the kind of turning point actually, when home became so super important to me, was when I had my daughter, and I had her when I was fairly young. I was 24 or 25. And I was working full time in London. I went back to work when she was 4.5 months old, full time, and a single parent because we split up after she was born. So home became so important to me because I wanted it to be I wanted to keep her safe, basically. And when I grew up, not that I was never not safe, but the emotional safety was not
like psychological safety.
And so that just became so. And I think the way that I've always done it is by personalising each space that I've been in. It's a total subconscious thing, but actually there's loads of science behind. If you link your environment to your values, your beliefs, your memories, the nostalgia, you feel more rooted to that space. So, putting pictures up, having something that calls on a really happy memory, like a blanket that your grandma knitted, you know, pictures of the kids, colour that you like. All those things root you to that space. And then you feel more connected to it. And so you feel safer and more comforted. And that is the feeling of home.
Wow. And that's a wrap. More. I've got more for you though. Because what is really kind of interesting me as well though is I've got loads of questions to kind of pick around. I'm deciding like where to go with this. Let's go into, I'll edit that a little bit because my brain is running 100 miles an hour right now.
Sorry. I'm just throwing you loads of.
So that's it. That's as simple as that. So what is it then that mothers or families, it's not always the mothers, is it, that have to make the home beautiful? So as a family, what is it that we are underestimating about, I mean, you shared there how important it is to feel rooted so that we feel safe, but what are we underestimating?
That's a great question. I think what we always think about when we are creating a space is we think about cozy. Everyone says cozy. Everyone wants that fit. Every client I've ever worked with has asked me for cozy. And cozy can seem like getting a blanket for the sofa, cushions, you know, hot chocolate in front of the fire, those sorts of things, and creating that space. But cozy is actually about a balanced space so that it feels comforting to our nervous system. It's about togetherness so that you feel like, because togetherness and sort of community is so intrinsic to us to make us feel good. It's about creating spaces that enable you to be together. It's also about autonomy, which is a bit of a funny thing, but it's also about making sure those spaces work for everyone in the family. And that is even more important if you have neurodiversity in the family. So it's like every space needs to sort of be adapted so that everyone in it finds comfort from it. So it's all well, you know, you can't have a space that just suits one person. And from quite a few clients historically, that's been the dad. It's like, I've chosen these pieces, but they don't work for the rest of the family, or, you know, quite hard edged, or so it's finding ways, and it can be really simple, like having lighting that can be adapted so that some people like bright lights, there'll be some people in the family that like the overhead light and like the really bright light. There's some that hate it and want just some calm mood lighting. It's those kinds of things. And a blanket can work because it might help someone regulate their own temperature in the home. You might not want it because you're perimenopausal, but your little, you know, my son, I don't talk about it very much, but he has autism or is autistic. And so he likes to be wrapped up. He always has his hood up, or he's always got he lives in his hoodie because it's like a walking blanket. So it's about creating that autonomy, but allowing people to be together, but together in their own comfort, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, when you put it like that, it just makes so much sense. So that you've got any space you're going in. And I guess the beauty is if you've got your own bedroom, like as a kid, like that can be adapted just for you. But then the rest of the house, everyone, that's a communal space. So being able to have those ways where we can all enjoy. So
comfort doesn't just mean, comfort isn't about cushions. I mean, I've had people say to me before, oh, you're not just going to get me to buy some really expensive cushions, are you? That's not ever come from a woman. No, I'm not actually, because that's just not it. That's not what I'm here for. I'm here to make the space work for you and support you. I'm not here to make you buy an expensive cushion. If you want to buy an expensive cushion that works with what we need it to do, great. But it's the layers underneath the actual layers.
Yeah. That the pennies kind of really dropped, because we hear a lot around is it the Swedish word? Yeah. And I wonder if we've all got caught up in this like feeling of like comfort, but not thought about the people in the space. My mother-in-law is a psychologist, and I had a massive meltdown about the space, because I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, but excuse me, just so much talking, croaky throat. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, where when our son came along, I felt like I needed to completely transform the way that we use the downstairs space. So what you're saying is absolutely making sense. But I think my husband thought I was like this crazy woman that was like, I don't know, like on this mission to like spring clean the house or something. But the way that we were then using the house was so different because we had a baby. I think I did go over the top because I was like, oh my gosh, we need to sell like the glass coffee table and those moments actually go and then you can have the glass coffee table again. But
Yeah.
I think that's really helpful to know that we all need to then use the space. So when you had your children, did you start adapting your space that you were living in?
Not greatly, no, because I've always intuitively done it. So, I mean, this house, we've been in it 10 years, it's still a doer-upper. It's not, everyone always says to me, I bet you've got the most beautiful. No, I haven't. And and there's no shame around it because I'm doing it extremely slowly because we don't have the budget. It doesn't, and I want to do it. If I can't do it properly, I'd rather not do it. So there are elements of our home that are done and elements that are not.
That's life. That's a good metaphor for life.
And it's also prioritizing that. I quite often get asked when someone moves house or when they want to redecorate, where do I start?
Good question.
Which room do I start with? I had this with a new client that I was talking to the other day, or potential new client. And I think the communals, because I think as a family, you often go and do the children's rooms first. But actually, you want to choose the room that holds you the most and work on that one first. The one that you spend the most time in, the one that you are together in, the one that brings you the most comfort. Again, a caveat, if you have a child with like a neurodiversity or something, then you want their bedroom is their safe space, and that might be a priority to make them feel grounded in that new home. Like my friend moved home the other day and there is no diagnosis or anything, but her son is definitely feeling the uncertainty of moving into a new house. So it might be that room gets a priority to make him feel that he belongs.
It's going back to that sense of belonging and feeling safe.
And it quite often happens that you want to change things in your home when you experience change. Because the space sort of has to adapt. That's why I always say as well, a home is never done because we change, life changes, our circumstances change. Our children grow up. We were working in the office, then we're working from home. We might have a parent moving in with us. Our children leave. It's a constant flux. That will never be done because it will change according to what's happening in our lives.
I think that's such a beautiful way of looking at it, Bex. I feel like there's so much pressure to have this like perfect, gorgeous home. But actually, if we think of it as that flowing, moving, ever-changing space that grows and changes with us, it to me, straight away when you said that kind of almost took the pressure off.
Yeah.
Like, okay, well, that's okay that things need to move around and change. That's happened to exactly us, where when we then had lockdown and we all started kind of like working from home more, we brought this gorgeous like close away desk because then I had to go back to work after maternity. So we brought like a desk that we could hide away, have it in the communal space. That was the only place we could have like another desk, if you like, but we didn't really want it on show. But now things have changed with both of our careers that we now actually don't need two working spaces. So then that desk is able to go upstairs. So it's meant like it then actually has had a knock-on effect on everything else.
Yeah. And I think you're right. It's a sort of a ticket to let it go, let that perfection go, because it will I mean, I don't believe I'm a big advocate of imperfection because things change, and also like home doesn't need to be perfect. Your home doesn't need to look like anybody else. It doesn't need, some people thrive in chaos, some people just want calm. It needs to work for you. I always say, in fact, I've got it on my briefing form with new clients. It says something like, to hell with, not maybe to hell, but that sort of thing. To hell with the Joneses. Like, do not care about anybody else. It doesn't matter what your name, it doesn't matter what your mother-in-law thinks. It's what works for you in your space. That's all that's important. Forget trends, forget any of that.
Trends. That brings me on to a trend. Let's talk about trends.
Okay, let's talk about trends.
So, as you know, I love psychology. I'm obsessed with psychology. And I read in the Psychologist magazine it was February edition, that the latest trend is dopamine decor. So we should all be painting our houses in bold interior, this is what quoted, as a daily mood booster. Do I need to go to the shops and go and buy some red paint? No. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, my thought is that has been a trend
Mm,
for a while. It's the dopamine. It's the word dopamine
the
that they're hooking
dopamine.
it onto because there's lots of chat about dopamine. Trends in interiors have seen, since I've sort of been doing this job, have dropped massively. There used to be so many seasonal trends that there just
Mm,
aren't anymore. And I think there is an element of the dopamine decor is feel good. So I'm all for that because
mm,
you want your home to feel good. You want it to represent who you are. So like I said, some people like color clash and lots going on. Some people that just would not work for them. So it's like feel good decor, which is kind of dopamine decor, but that does not necessarily mean paint everything bright colors because color is so personal. And even if you get, there's a lot of color psychology that says pink is nurturing,
mm.
green is connective, blue is calming, red is like full onness, yellow is all quite energetic. And that's all well and good. I could tell you to go and paint your kitchen yellow or whatever. You probably wouldn't do that, but somewhere subconsciously. And Tara Swart, I was going to say,
We're her biggest fans.
her girl crush.
Oh, God.
She wrote this in
Her
an
and Brennan.
Instagram post actually a few weeks ago that and I was like, yes, that's so true. That it's all well and good you being told to paint these bright colours or whatever, but somewhere subconsciously, if I said yellow kitchen, without knowing, you might have a subconscious association to that colour that you don't even realise until you've painted it yellow, and then you're like, ah!
Hate it. That's
Because
so
colour is
true.
just so. And whenever I post something and say, what colour do you hate? It's so brilliant. And they're nearly always the same ones. And they're obviously all they're mostly related to childhood, I think.
What people, is there a colour that always comes up?
Purple is quite often. I hate
hate
purple.
purple.
I hate purple. I would never have anything. Apart from purple flowers. I like purple flowers.
I hate purple.
And I think orange sometimes gets a bad rap.
I love a bit of orange.
I think they're like sort of 70s colours, so maybe they
Maybe.
remind us
I
of our
think that
grandmas.
dinosaur. What was that dinosaur when we were a kid growing up? Barney. I think Barney's
Barney.
got a lot to answer for that.
But it is so interesting.
That's
So
true.
it's so personal. I think dopamine decor should be taken to not necessarily colour, or if there is a colour that brings you joy, go for it. I
Mm,
mean, it's more about like it's almost like creating little moments around your house that make you smile. So
mm.
that might be a bright coloured cushion. It might be a picture of that grandma who had the horrible purple eider down. Like I've got one on the landing of my grandparents and my aunt, and my grandma. It might be something that the children have done, just put in the corner. It's kind of, they are the things that give you little hits across your home.
Like little sparks of joy.
Yeah, and then, like I was saying before, that's how you feel then connected, and like home is your special place, and you feel like you belong there. They're like little markers across the house, and that doesn't
Mm.
have to be paint the wall pink. If you love pink, I do. It might just be just a pink vase somewhere that that it's more like that.
Because going back to what you were saying, like the whole family needs to also feel safe in that space. If you like pink, well, hubby might not, for example. Luckily, I have painted my whole entire downstairs open plan in a shade of pink, drenched it.
Very nurturing.
Is it? But my husband was the one that actually had the idea. He saw something. He loves a bit of property porn. Loves it. He's always on
Yes.
Rightmove. And he showed me this house and I was like, that is beautiful. He's like, yeah, should we so his favourite interior designer is Bowen, what's his name? Lawrence.
Oh, really?
Yeah, if he had his way, our house would be like a carnival of colour. So I haven't let him see that trend about the dopamine.
Because that's the thing, you see, if it works for one, it doesn't. Like my husband he gives almost zero shits. So we're having our bathroom done in a few weeks, and we were making some final decisions last night, and he was like, how about this? And I was like, no, because it doesn't have curves. And he's like, oh, does it really matter? Yes, it really does. All these things really matter. But I suppose I'm also coming from what I do for a job. So
Yeah.
I know that those things that I'm choosing will make a difference to how we all feel.
Interesting.
And we only have one family bathroom, so it has to feel as calm as humanly possible because
For
there's 5
everyone.
people using it.
Yeah. Yeah, we've got the same challenge. I'm curious, Bex, about if the neurodiversity, because I think I'm hearing a lot of people at the moment that their children are getting diagnosed and then they're like, oh, well, that kind of could be for me. And I'm a big believer that we're all on all the
Yeah,
spectrum
I
somewhere
agree.
along the line.
Yeah.
So thinking about not only like the kids, but if we are thinking like, oh, there are some neurodiversity within the home, have you got any like top tips on what to think about there?
Yeah, so there's the adaptive spaces, as I mentioned before, is super important. So that if you have a neurodiversity, you're really like, you can be very sensitive to your surroundings, to noise, to touch. So it's kind of those sensory touch points, I
Hmm.
guess, considering those a bit more. I have had this quite a few times. Often, say for example, I'm choosing a sofa for a client. We have to go right into what fabric do you like the feel of? Because some will be, and I've had like my child will not stand on a bobbly rug, so no bobble, nothing with a bobble on it.
It's a lot to think about, isn't it?
Yeah, it goes way. This is the thing. Interior design is. I don't know how other people do it. I stay in my
But I
own
love what
lane.
you do.
But
Yeah.
it's very much, home is a feeling is like my strapline, and it so is. And when you are more sensitive to your surroundings, that's even more important. So yeah, like velvet, some people can get really funny about the feeling of velvet, and then others really love it. It's so personal,
It's
and it
so
has to work for everyone in a family. And it also often has to work for the cat or the dog as well.
Oh, yes. Then you've got all that to consider.
Yes.
That's a whole nother ball game. And you know what though? It is really taking me back to like when I had my son and I was like obsessed with like making our space nice. And I think it's because it wasn't working. And we had this kitchen that would always like plan on changing. And my mother-in-law, I remember having a conversation with her. I was like, I just need this space. Like I need it to be nice. But like and she was a psychologist and it was like, we need to, this has got to happen. We've got to change this space. Like, I get where you come from. And I felt really heard for the first time because I felt like everyone else was just thinking that I just wanted to redecorate. But now I'm hearing you talk about this. And obviously, she didn't show any wisdom. She was just like, yeah, go, like, do it, make it happen. Because we know you had a newborn. Do you really want to be decorating? Do you really want to be doing that? But actually, it was to help us. And this was in COVID, so it's probably amplified. But it
Mm,
was then making sure that I felt safe. And
yeah.
your job as a mother is to make everybody feel like, well, your kid safe,
Yeah.
survive.
So that not only was that nesting instinct is for
Yes.
exactly that. It's rooting you. It's making it feel safe, secure, comforted. It's back to like, that's what cozy and hygge or whatever it is. That's what it's all about. It's about safety together, comfort, balance, all those different things
Yeah.
all make you feel like connected to home or connect whatever space you're in, whether it's work or home.
So no wonder we go into full on nesting as well.
Mm. I think it's just an instinctive.
Making your a safe space. Like if you're an animal, that's what you would do if you're about to give birth,
Yeah.
or you'd make your environment safe.
Yeah. It's also quite interesting as well that as mothers, parents, and we're looking at our space, and we tend to, like I said about if you've got a child, you might want to not always do their bedrooms first. There is this thing of, as mothers, we'll get the house so everyone else is sorted, so that the teenagers have got their desks somewhere to work, so that hobby can be done, so that, blah, de, blah, de, blah. And we forget what we need, and we
Yep.
put us to the bottom, and we think, well, I don't need to redesign. I mean, it's all getting, I'm swearing every time I walk in the room, but I'll put that at the bottom of the list because there's other stuff to be done. But then we're not allowing our home to help regulate our nervous systems. And it's that
Yeah.
old oxygen mask analogy. Like sometimes you need to think, actually, it's not frivolous thinking about redecorating or rethinking your home. It's actually, you're important too.
That's so true, Bex. Did a little workshop the other day they were all mums, and I was getting them to be thinking about, we were basically doing some goal setting,
Mm.
and pretty much everyone around that room, their goal for this year was to make some space for them. And this is only just kind of like the light bulb moment, but it was about space in their homes. At the time, I was thinking how they're actually taking a step forward to do something for themselves. But
Mm.
actually, now I'm reflecting back, it was deeper than that because they were all talking about, I don't have spaces in my home. So, for example, before the kid, we had the spare room and that was my knitting and crafting room. But now it's had to be John's work office, or it's become the kids' playroom. So we sacrifice, don't
Mm.
we? Like by
Mm.
giving also up our space. And then you're right, it's that oxygen mask. And it does start with us, because if we're not feeling safe, or we haven't
Yeah.
got, or we don't have the space. That's what I felt like. These women that were talking to me were feeling almost like claustrophobic in their own home,
Yeah. And I
because a lot of
totally get
us,
that.
a lot of us, especially around here in Surrey, like our houses are not ginormous because land is
Despite what people
expensive.
might think.
Yeah. And then how do you make the small space not feel claustrophobic? So
Yeah.
my question then, Bex, is if as a family, because it does rely on the mum, I bet there's some psychology behind this. But as a family, if we have got 30 minutes this weekend, what could we do to make, excuse me, I've definitely got a frog in my throat. As a family, if we've got 30 minutes free this weekend, what could we do to have the biggest emotional impact?
There are a few things you can do. What I often say is you can do a little edit of your space. So you can go and have a look at, there's a couple of things. You could go and have a look at, you can almost go round with a pad and paper and write, well, that brings me joy, that drains me. And then you start working on a plan to increase the joy stuff and decrease the drains. So that might even be like a coffee table that you like because you can put your cup of tea on it, but you bang your knees on it every single time you go past. Or, your son trips over it, or the dog swishes. I was saying this to a client the other day, the dog swishes the cup. It's not working for you. Get a small side table and put it to the side instead where it's out of the way. So it can be as simple as that. So you kind of look at like where your joy cup is and where your drains are, and then start working one and the other.
You could literally go around the house with post-it notes.
Yeah.
And as a family do that as an activity.
Yeah. And I've got something, I say I've got it, I've actually been sitting on it for quite a while now, but a free PDF, which I am going to start my newsletter and send it out. And it's kind of a workbook that takes you through the sort of steps. And that's one of the
Fab.
steps. Because it's another thing you can do. It's funny because there's been another trend I've seen it on Pinterest. It went up like, Pinterest do like the overview of trends. And there's like rooms in your home that become a gym, a meditation room. I mean, how many people really have a room that they can give over to that?
That
And
would be
there's
the
also
dream.
another
But
one
no.
about rage rooms, which I saw in the news quite a lot
I've
for.
seen this too.
Yeah, so I might do a bit of stuff around that because it's for midlife women that are just, the rage can sometimes be. And so it's kind of finding a way to find a tiny little pocket in your home that is like your anti-rage space, or, if you haven't got a meditation room or a gym, I mean, but you might have one corner where you could maybe move the direction of an armchair so it's facing out rather than into the room, with a little basket underneath with your favourite book. And if you journal, a notepad and pen, it might be knitting if you like knitting. It might be your yoga mat and somewhere that you can just claim as a space that you know you can go to that feels like it's supporting you. And if it's facing towards with an outside view rather than looking into the room, then it will feel more like a space of your own.
Nice. That's a lovely little tip. So it's about not necessarily, it hasn't got to be a huge space. It can just be something where you can bring that into a space.
Yeah, and then it feels like you've got a little corner for you.
And it's the autonomy,
Yeah.
isn't it? It's having that ownership of going, right, this is my little
And it
corner.
doesn't mean, right, no one can use this chair because that's my journaling chair between the hours of 7:45 and 8 a.m. That's not what it means. It just means that it's almost like the whole atomic habits and making habits easier. That's another thing. What can you do to set your space up so that it supports good habits? And in this instance, the habit is mothers taking a bit of time for themselves. Where can we make that the most easiest and accessible?
Accessible. I like that word because if it's not accessible, we won't do it.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a good word. I've loved this conversation, Bex. I knew it was going to be good because I love how you just weave in the psychology and the understanding. Like you make interior design practical and understand. Like it isn't just about the fluff. It's,
Right.
it's not just about literally that fluffy cushion. There is so much reason behind. And I think that's probably why, like, as well, like people really love that episode about the seasonal shelf
Yeah.
because again, it's got the autonomy, like the ownership, like you can own, one shelf and you can kind of do something with it. And actually like being able to change
Yeah.
and being creative and actually kind of having that. My biggest takeaway from today's conversation is definitely the permission slip of your house is never going to be perfect and it's got to grow with you. So it's never
And
going to be a
you are a
perfect space.
priority in it too.
Yes. And you're a priority in it too. I think that's really, really
There's
important.
another thing about that shelf that I was thinking about that I
Hmm.
think I said that to you at the time, maybe, is that also when you do a seasonal shelf, you're connecting to nature because you're using elements from nature. And that is super important in your home. The more you connect to nature, the more your nervous system will be calmed. So that is what I always weave. Every single design that I do is massively influenced by nature. So the shapes, the textures, the colours, as much connection as you can get to outside. There's even science that's shown that just having like a picture of nature in your room, if you're not able to access nature, can make you calmer and more focused, more productive.
Is that the same with the flowers? I've heard this about like if you've got like a fake plant or a real plant, because obviously like having plants and that is good for our well-being and
Yeah.
it's the bringing the nature in, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the
Is that
same.
true? The
Yeah.
same, yeah.
And there's been a study on flowers, maybe more than one study, but there's been quite a few studies into more like public spaces like hospitals and things like that about how having elements of nature in them can help you get better more quickly. Like it affects your heart rate. So there's been studies on that. And I think that's why now doctors' surgeries, hospitals, you see more green spaces in them, like an atrium, or there's more of those than there probably used to be because there's more of an understanding that connecting to nature can actually have a physiological effect, not just a psychological effect.
Yeah. It's actually just taken us all back to our roots. Like
Yeah,
if you think about fundamentally, we lived, outside in caves. We would draw on cave walls to make them our home and
yeah,
tell the stories. And that's what I'm hearing, like having the picture of grandma and, the pictures of your holidays, like that is all storytelling. And then when people come in your home and you talk about them and it brings that joy back. And it's all like we're meant to be outside more. We're not meant to go from box to box to box. And that's where we belong. Like we're animals at the end of the day.
yeah.
Like this is meant to be our home. It's meant to be the safe shelter that we come into. So it makes sense, doesn't it, to bring that
Because
more
it's the
out
same
in.
with all kind of neuroscience and stuff, isn't it? And the same applies with the neuroscience and the psychology around design, that we have evolved in terms of the tools and the technology, but our brains are still way behind. They're still like out in the fields looking for a, a badger. Not sure we were looking for badgers. A boar, not a badger. A big badger that wasn't black and white. But that's why, that's the fun. That's the layers underneath the nice cushions and the pink paint, and there's more to it than that. Because if you can calm your nervous system, then you can't get rid of the chaos of having a busy family. That is life. But you can make the environment calmer so that your base level is a bit lower. That's what good home design can do. And the same applies for work in terms of workspace productivity and focus.
Yeah, I'd love you to come and sort my workspace out.
There's so many things that you can do. And that actually is something that I'm going to start exploring more, going into businesses and helping them to understand that the shape of their environment can support their staff, that can encourage their clients, retain clients. There's all that side of stuff as well.
There is. I read a really good study. This is really the irony. Before COVID happened, there was a study, there's probably multiple, but talking about how workplaces needed to feel more like home.
Mm.
So we were more productive when, there was a sofa or we had places. And where I worked, I was really lucky to work with this incredible director. And she was the one that kind of was sharing this and introduced it and created this space. So I worked under her in the learning development. And so in order for people to learn and develop and grow, she created this whole space, this whole academy. And it had like the sofas and the games to play and all of this to help people ultimately be more productive and be more high performing. Imagine how that went down with a load of scientists and engineers. When she left, it fell by the wayside a bit, unfortunately. But it was the irony that then was obviously we went to lockdown, and everybody then did work from home, and people are more productive when they're at home because you've got those environments around you. You've got what you need, haven't you?
That's the adaptability as well. That's why open plan spaces, they have a real purpose in that they bring the working community together. And I did a post about this a while ago on Instagram where I cited our old boss where when I worked in advertising, had a bit of a sweat problem. And so he used to have the aircon on so cold all the time, all year round, that you'd be in the summer with like a hat on because it was so bloody freezing. But we had no autonomy over our space. So he was fine. He was walking around, not sweating. We were all like shivering. Not everyone, because some of us are more sensitive to but that's the thing. Like if you're in an open plan space, each person needs a bit of autonomy over it, whether it's lighting.
And then you don't enjoy going.
Yeah. And then you're less productive. And also if the space aligns with your values. So, it's like, for example, if you've got a brand that's got an element of nature in it, but their values are maybe sustainability or something, but then their corporate space is like a really bland office. Like you're disconnected from and that is a fact.
It's huge.
There's not that many, there's not all brands align their space with their values and what they're trying to achieve.
I tell you who does it very well. I don't know if they do now because they've been taken over by an American company, but Sweaty Betty used to nail it. So they had their big values on the wall. And they've got fantastic values, and they're a little bit cheeky as well because that's obviously the type of people that they had. They would have bean bags in their meeting rooms, and just because the people that would work there would obviously be into like fitness and yoga, and they nailed it. I've never worked there, but it was always one of my goals because I aligned with their values, and I was always like, I want to work for that company.
Yeah.
But Virgin, for me, they also absolutely nail it. And I've worked for Virgin, and probably the best place I've worked for because they know exactly the type of people they're recruiting. They know how to make the work environment suit those types of people. I mean, there's a lot of red, but the people can handle that because they recruit those type of people. And they nailed it very well. Whereas the company I used to work for, their logo was about saving lives, but actually it was a very cold, sterile place, apart from this one, obviously, place that the director built. But you're right. I think workplace, especially now, people have been asked to go into the offices more.
Yeah. It
But then
needs
your
to be,
workspace at home as well, again, like we
yeah.
don't often think about
No, you
that.
don't. You
Like
just
I work out
shoehorn
of
it
this
in.
cupboard and it's horrendous.
Yeah.
Luckily, I've now put it next to a window, so it feels much nicer. But I used to get so depressed, like opening this cupboard and then working out of it.
Yeah. That's the
Miserable.
funny thing, actually, because in COVID there was quite a lot of those, weren't there? Like use a cupboard to create a workspace, which is kind of out of necessity, but it's not ideal because it literally feels like you're in a cupboard, and that doesn't. I guess there's a slight thing of safety, but often a cupboard you've then got your back to the door, the windows, and that won't make you feel safe. Anything where you've got your back to the view will never make you feel as comfortable as if you're able to see the horizon and the sky. It's just an instinctive fear.
Because we're always on the lookout, right, for
Yeah,
danger.
it's back to the old out and chasing badgers. It's kind of, and also your brain, you walk into a space and it immediate, your brain is doing way before you're conscious of it, is
Yes.
clocking the environment for cues. Is it
Hmm.
safe or is
Yep.
it not safe? It's
And I
still
think that
doing that.
heightens when you become a mother as well. You're
Yeah.
like even
Yeah.
more like, whereas like you can scan that room and spot the danger.
Yeah. And in
So
your home,
subconsciously,
that can mean that can be like too much contrast in a space. So if you like your husband, he's a maximalist, he likes lots of different things, but actually to your brain, that they're constantly like flashes of look here, look here, look here, look here. And that can feel less safe to your brain. But then if you enjoy that kind of thing, it kind of evens itself out. Whereas if you were someone that found that a bit too much, that would feel really too much because your brain's always on this like safety thing, and too much color and contrast can like fire you up quite a lot. That's why contrast works well in a children's playroom but wouldn't work so well in your bedroom.
so when you go in to work with a family, do you talk to everybody in the
There's not
family?
always everybody there, but I always ask how everyone uses the space. I always ask
Okay.
if there's any particular needs or things that the husband or the children it's nearly always the woman that I speak to. If
Why
there's
is
anything they're
that?
sensitive. Because I think we care about our environment. They just don't. They just, not that they all, I mean, that's a broad.
But there is definitely a more leaning to women that want to. I mean, yeah, it's very different for there's a family across the road and the guy's a builder and he's always building these incredible projects and he gets the most fantastic, he's so inspired by designs that he's seen and he brings them in and his wife's like, honestly, like every weekend he wants to do something. And I'm like, do you want to do a husband swap?
Yeah.
Or is that a bit weird? That you're right. It's not always, but it does tend to be this nurturing
The
instinct,
nurturing, yeah.
isn't it, to make the
And it's
home
protection. Well, it's not, it's protection for men as well, I suppose, but they see that in a more kind of maybe
provider.
providing rather than creating a safe space.
Mm.
And I guess that's back to the old, back in those days, we would have been making the space safe and they would have been out badgering.
Killing the badger.
I'm going to regret that. I told you I wasn't sure what would come out from it. I wasn't expecting badger baiting.
I might put that in the show notes. I might attract a whole new client. See what happens with the SEOs.
Yeah.
Bex, this has been so insightful and a conversation that I think some people could think, oh, just like, interior design. Yeah, I need to like paint my house. But actually, you've really helped us uncover that there's just so much to think about, which can be overwhelming in itself. So I would love if we could share your downloadable when it's ready. That would be
Yeah.
amazing. I'd love to share that with everybody. I can put it in my newsletter for the flop drop.
Thank you.
That would be fantastic. And I've just got 4 questions before you share with us where we can get hold of you from if we want to follow you. I ask this to all of my guests, quick fire round questions, which is the 4 H's. So the first one, can you share with us a history that shaped you today?
So in a nutshell, what shaped my whole thing and how I came into interior design is I do not have my mum in my life. So she is around, but she's not part of my life for her own reasons and what happened to her, which I'm actually in the process of writing a book about, because that history has really helped me on a quest for the sense of belonging in home. So that's my sort of history.
Oh, all weaves together.
Yeah.
When I ask these questions, do you know what's really fascinating? Is that the mother always shows up in one or all. She's always there. It's
Hey, that's
really,
interesting.
really fascinating. Yeah. So thank you for sharing that. I look forward to hearing about the book. Maybe that's another podcast episode. Take a challenge that, or a heartache that's grown you the most.
I guess it's the same thing. It was
Mm,
so when I had my daughter when I was quite young and I was a single parent with her, I guess the heartache of not having my mum, and there's like generational loss of mothers. It's a generational thing. That became my everything, like protecting her, not letting that generational trauma move on. So like the heartache of the grief of not having my mum and all that is like all of that in my cells that has come from before, not letting that go further with my daughter. So using that heartache and that grief and that loss to kind of make it stop so that it doesn't pass on.
to change history.
Yeah. And to just that is not happening anymore for any of the mothers that from me onwards in our family. That's not how it is going to be. So
That's
that grief
huge.
is enormous and
Yeah.
forever, that I've turned it into something that is my everything, really, my making my children not have to experience that. I mean, I can't, keep myself say, I don't know what the universe has got in store for me, but
I love that. Thank you, Bex. That's what we all want, I think, as mothers, isn't it? Is to kind of stop history from repeating
yeah,
itself.
yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. The next H is hope. I feel like there's going to be a theme coming through here. What hope drives you now?
Yeah, I think it is that. It's the same thing, that it's kind of hope, but also hope in action.
Mm.
So sort of not just hoping that it will be better for them, but making it so.
The hope is driving that
Yeah.
change.
So everything that I do, that's how I sort of realised that interior design meant so much to me and that home meant so much because of all of that. So it's the hope. And when I was a single mum in Clapham, like walking past all these lovely houses, and I was just on my own in a little flat, sharing a room with my daughter until she was 3, I used to hope that I could make a safe space for her. I'd see all these people in their families, and I didn't have that. And it was the driving force. I mean, I've had to battle a lot of battles, but this house is very imperfect, but it's ours, and they all they all go to bed at night in a safe, comforting space, and that is all that matters to me.
Bex, that's really amazing.
Yeah, it's
That's
just a
so
bit of gratitude
beautiful.
for what I've got, really.
Especially with what's going out in the world right now,
Yeah,
that we have a safe bed to
yes.
go.
Sometimes we need to remind ourselves. I mean, we're all guilty of getting lost in our daily words, aren't we?
Oh, it's made me feel a bit emotional.
Oh,
So hero then, Bex. Someone who has inspired you. Who's your hero?
I think my girls are my heroes. Don't
Oh,
tell my boy that. Well, I guess he is as well. But I think it's the girls because they're girls and they're both very confident, but not, quietly confident, self-assured. They know who they are. They won't take any shit. And they're so far away from what I was at their ages
wow.
because of my history. And that is my kind of proof of purchase that that
You're doing a
I've got it
great
right.
job.
So I've done my job. Yeah. I mean, it's an ongoing job, obviously. When you have children, it's a forever job, given last night and my 25-year-old. But yeah, they're my heroes. I just think they're amazing. They're just so, they go and get, they go and take or not take from the world, but they go and like be part of it and
They're like
enjoy it and get the joy. And that is the most important thing.
living the best opportunities. Like
Yeah.
really
And they're
fulfill.
not burdened by that all that stuff that came before them.
So
And
you've
that's
done
what
it.
yeah, I think
You've
so.
done
I
it.
mean, nobody's. I'm so far from perfect, and I've made so many mistakes. But we all do. None of us are perfect.
Yeah, we're all masterpieces and we're work in progress,
Yeah,
aren't we? All of us.
and that's why like home is so important to me, because that's where that's how you keep. That's where we're all safe and comforted.
And it is like that. You've made me think of like that picnic blanket an analogy where, when you go to the park and you put a picnic blanket out and the kids can go off and they can go and play, but they always know where the picnic blanket is and you can sit there
Yeah,
and you can watch them. And it's the same with home. Like they can go off and they can explore and they can be free birds. They can leave the nest. But knowing that there's this secure
yeah.
home
And
is
it might not be
huge.
perfect. It might have wood chip walls like we've got. It might,
Yeah. Our door handles keep falling off.
yeah, we've all got that. But that's kind of also, they'll remember that one day. They'll remember tripping over the lino in our 80s Greek taverna kitchen, as we call it. Because as my friend sometimes goes, I love what you've done here. And it's just like a ripped bit of lino. She's so cheeky. But they'll remember that.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't, do you? I mean, I could not tell you really, I don't know whether this is me, but I couldn't really tell you about like the interior and the colours and the things in our home growing up. I just remember that there's a
The
really lovely
feeling.
home and I still dream about it.
Yeah. So that's the feeling of it. See,
It's the feel, the emotional connection.
yeah. And mine wasn't quite like that. So that, but
I
that is
mean,
also the same for the same. That's the kind of, that's my drive. So
yeah.
you either want to recreate it or change it.
And that was interestingly, that was the family home until my dad left. And then when my dad left, it all went terribly wrong. And we moved into this small house. And I never, ever, like, it's weird, isn't it? Like, I always dream of where the house, and I will dream sometimes of myself being in that house, like now as an adult being in that house. And growing up, I used to imagine I'd be able to earn enough money to buy that house. But that's because that's the house where I had a family unit and we were together and we were happy.
Yeah.
Whereas, yeah, after that all went a bit downhill, to be honest, went tits up. But the
Well,
message is having that safe feeling is ultimately what we're trying to create.
yeah, it's safety and belonging.
And belonging.
They are the things that keep us going as humans. They're
Yeah.
like the most basic needs.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Bex. So if anybody would
Pleasure.
love to have you come into their home and make it psychologically safe and beautiful at the same time, where do we find you?
It's easiest to find me on Instagram. That's where I am a lot of the time. So that's at Home Shaped Style. And then I do have a website, but I'm currently, well, it's there. You can contact me through that,
Okay.
which is homeshaped.com. Yeah, so that's got a contact page on it. I'm just kind of trying to update that at the moment. Yeah,
Cool.
they're the
I'll
kind of
pop-
two places.
I'll pop the links in the show notes so anyone would like to contact you. And thank you so much, Bex. It was a gorgeous
Pleasure.
conversation. Thank you.
Pleasure. Pleasure.